Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Ritesh Parkar from Faculty of Technology, Marwadi University, Rajkot. Today, I'm going to demonstrate my week 4 outcomes for the International FDP on Environmental and Sustainability, Open Education for Better World, project of UNESCO, Chair Slovenia, in collaboration with University of Nova Gorica, Slovenia, Europe. So, in this video, I am going to demonstrate and discuss about what are my learning outcomes in these whole 4 weeks. So week 1 video details are like this. I have prepared a video to highlight the environment and sustainability aspect in process and reactor design. And in that video, I tried to show the impact of modeling and simulation on environment and sustainability. So we will try to revise the content which was discussed in week 1's video. Like, it was started with what exactly the chemical process is. As we are dealing with the conversion of raw material into processed marketable material, there are different processes. Those are termed as physical or physiochemical biological processes. So this is the process where the raw material is converted into a desired product, and there is a crucial role of chemical or process engineer. So in that case, we will have different kind of equipments which needs to be installed. Prior to that, it is to be designed and then processed. So let us see what are the exact steps needs to be followed by a process engineer. Let's say before starting any pilot scale production, we have to work with lab experiments. If it is succeed, then we will go for commercial scale. And after having a number of trials and troubleshooting the problems, if any, we have to look for economics, safety, and sustainability for that particular project or a product. Then it is to be implemented as a final process. So we have discussed in this case in the first video that as I have this video for course specific for process design. So let us say this is one of the reactor which is having a different, which is molded into different types, that is number 1 to number 5. So if you are able to see that this reactor is made up of different materials, let's say, and the design, you may be able to see that at the top, the 5 designs are having different sections. And if you will go to the physical system, this reactor is having almost 2.5 meters height, and there are different kind of internals along with connections. So when we will implement or try to introduce this kind of equipments in industry directly, it takes lot of time, and troubleshooting will be one of the issue, along with the time required, safety, and money investment. So the idea is for environment and sustainability, which I had discussed in the first video for this international FDP on environment and sustainability, that simulation plays a vital role in environment and sustainability. Before going to erect any plant, we have to deal with a different kind of reactors. So as a chemical engineer, we have to deal with the different parameters which can be fine-tuned before starting any process. So if we'll go to the simulation aspect, that is what I have showed in the video number 1, in the, where we have to deal with a number of situations. And if we'll work on a real physical system, it takes long time. And as I discussed, the along with the time, money requirement will be more. So efficiency could not be achieved if we will go along with the rough estimation or rough design. So modeling and simulation plays an important role, where With the help of mathematics, you can design the several models and simulations can be carried out, which can be seen in this PPT on this particular slide, where the reaction can be seen virtually without doing any experimentation. So once you are done with your physical modeling in a software called ANSYS Fluent or ANSYS Workbench, this kind of behavior can be seen, and actual design which is required for the system, for the process, for the chemical reactor design, it can be taken with the help of modeling and simulation. Okay, so this is the aspect for environment and sustainability, where we are reducing the energy, where we are reducing this hazards. Okay, so what exactly design used to give? Design will give you less hazards, it will give accurate readings, it will reduce the pollution, which is our priority, to reduce the pollution. Very important. There will be energy saving, requirement of less resources, as I had discussed in the first video, that when we are doing the simulations, you must have a good system, and simulation will give you the exact results which can be replicated on field or pilot scale plant. So this is the details for week 2 video, which I have provided as a submission for International FDP on Environment and Sustainability, where I had a discussion about ISO and its correlations in terms of chemical reactor system. So my second video was somewhat popular, where it was viewed by 242 uh, netizens, and it had 61 likes and 1 dislike. So in that week 2 video, I had discussed about sustainable development and its 17 goals, which are required to transform our world. Being a chemical engineer, we have to deal with a different kind of process. Let us assume that starting from our toothpaste, which we used to have early in the morning to brush our teeth, and whichever the material you will take from our household appliances, it has to be processed, or it has to be worked, or any chemical engineer has processed it, right? So what are the different sustainable development goals? The first one is no poverty, second one is zero hunger, the third one is good health and well-being, fourth one is quality education, fifth one is gender equality, sixth one is clean water and sanitation, seventh, affordable and clean energy, eighth, decent work and economic growth, ninth one, industry, innovation and infrastructure. 10th goal is reduce inequalities. 11th goal will be sustainable cities and communities. 12th goal will be responsible consumption and production. 13th one is climate action. Next one is for life below water, and 15th one is life on land. 16th goal for sustainable development will be peace, justice, and strong institutions. Whereas the last goal listed is partnership for the goals. Being a student of chemical engineering, we can have this different kind of goals when we have to discuss in terms of process design or reactor design, because each and everything has to work in the industry itself, because many things where it is discussed, like industry innovation, or let's say affordable and clean energy, or clean water and sanitation, or let's say working with the for life below water or life on land, along with the climate action, all these parameters needs to be considered by chemical engineering student while working in the industry or while designing a process. So next, I told, like for environment and sustainability, if reactor is at the center point and you have to process raw material into end product, the energy and skill labor, these are two main factors we have to deal with. And for environment and sustainability, what we require, we have to reduce the energy consumption, or we may have a clean energy, and skill labor in the sense that if they will work efficiently, there will be in reduction of energy consumption or pollution. So this is the overall idea, and I will try to at the end of this video, I will try to prove that how this reactor centric system has been environment and sustainability approach. So for that purpose, I discussed about process intensification in order to have a sustainable goal for week two's video, where process intensification can be carried out in terms of equipments and methods. As the subject, chemical process design deals with designing of the process along with the combination of various equipments, and the method of working is also of having equal importance. Then equipments, if you are having a older equipment, you have to as the industrial, there will be new roles of industries. So you have to change your equipments, or there must be a process modification. So sometimes it will equipments may be with or without chemical reactions. Which kind of methods you can have? You may have some classical methods, you may have multifunctional, hybrid, and so on. So this is the concept of process intensification, where energy can be reduced and more efficient system can be achieved. So this is one of the objective which can pertain to the environment and sustainability. And that is what the motto of this international FDP on environment and sustainability. So let us moving forward to the ISOs. So very popular ISO 14000. I thought to share this history of ISO 14000. So the journey was started in 1992, where BSI Group publishes first EMS standard, that is BS 7750, and 1996 ISO created the ISO 14000, that is a family of standards. So moving forward from 1996 to 2004, ISO 14001 is revised. So in between these, there will be the certain modification has been done according to the different criteria. And after 11 years, in 2015, there will be a current revision of ISO 14001 published. And still there are certain modifications, those are given in terms of ISO. So this is just to give a glance about what is the history of ISO 14000. So let us go to the different ISOs, those are required, or standards, those are required while designing the process as a part of this course, let's say. So the first standard which I want to mention here, it is ISO 9000 2015 and ISO 9001 2015. So what are the themes and purpose of this? It is a set of international standards on quality management and quality assurance. That is what we want exactly. We want management and assurance of the quality. Next, it is developed to help companies effectively document the quality system elements needed to maintain an efficient quality system. So it is a kind of documentation that is required, and they are not specific to any one industry and can be applied to the organization of any size. So this is one of the advantage of this ISO 9000 2015 and ISO 9001 2015, that it can be applicable to any industry irrespective of its size. And next ISO standard which I want to discuss here is ISO 14000, and it is a series of international environment management standards, guides, and technical reports. Those are available for all of us in order to guide this kind of documentation in any industry. And this standard specify requirements for establishing an environmental management policy, determining environmental impact of product or services, planning environmental objectives, implementing programs to meet objective, and conducting corrective action and management review. So if you are able to see this serial number 2 standard ISO 14000, it tries to cover each and everything about environment and environment policies. The third one is BS OHSAS 18001, that's occupational health and safety management. So it is very, very important that we have to work for health and safety management system. So there is a series of this OHSAS 18,000, sorry, 18,000, 18,002. So there are a number of documentations are available which helps to put in the policies, its procedure, control needed for the organization to achieve the best possible working condition and workplace health and safety aligned to the internationally recognized best practice. I want to add one more point for this. In this today's situation of COVID-19, these standards will helpful for each and every industry to come up or to work with this situation of COVID-19. So just to have in deep knowledge or deep idea about the ISO 9000 2015 and ISO 9001 2015, this scheme gives an overall idea about that this ISO is used to promote organizational improvement. So what are the different parts which we need to highlight or which can be highlighted through this documentation? Let's say we'll start with the leadership, which will try to highlight the leadership qualities, then engagement of people, then process approach, different types of process approaches are discussed and documented by this ISO. Then improvement in your process, either it may be in terms of your manufacturing or your business process. There will be evidence-based decision making with the help of this ISO 9000 2015 and ISO 9001 2015. And very important is that is relationship management and having a customer focus. So this is a very important part which students or one should take care of it while studying about or while discussing about ISO standards. So let us coming back to the overall conclusion of this international FDP on environmental sustainability, Open Education for Better World project of UNESCO, chair Slovenia in collaboration of University of Nova Gorica, Slovenia, Europe. The outcomes of this video, which I am going to share as a part of assignment, that after learning through this video, students will understand the concept of carbon footprint in process industries. Number two, students can plan the different carbon footprint and allied calculation methodologies. And at the end, students will be able to, let's say, design a sustainable process engineering system and anticipate the increased environmental sustainable methodology along with improved efficiency. So in next slides, I will try to discuss how to achieve these three outcomes. So let us start. So the first question, what exactly the carbon footprint is? Everybody may be heard about this carbon footprint. So let's say the total amount of greenhouse gases, those are produced to directly and indirectly support human activities, right? So these can be generated by the human activities. So these are expressed in equivalent tons of carbon dioxide, that is CO2. What are the examples for this in general? Let's say driving a car, buying food and goods, eating. So these are the general examples which gives an idea about the carbon footprint. Let's say if we have to discuss about the core specific, if someone has to convey its material or goods from one place to another, you have to drive a car or certain kind of transportation should be there. So there will be generation of greenhouse gases. So this is a media through which we are generating the carbon footprint. Similarly, buying foods, goods, and heating, these are also some of the examples. So let's say somewhere I am going to demonstrate about the based on the fuels, its consumption, how much carbon is emitted or what is the amount of carbon footprint. Next, everyone must have this question in their mind, what is the need of calculating carbon footprint, right? So everybody nowadays is thinking like that we should contribute for betterment of society. So it is very powerful tool, that is carbon footprint. It is very powerful tool to understand the impact of personal behavior on global warming, because carbon footprint is nothing but it's anybody's activity through which carbon emission will be there, certain kind of emission will be there, where the greenhouse gases or greenhouse emissions may affect the overall environment's performance, right? So you may be shocked that I will show you certain kind of examples where how much amount of CO2 we are releasing from our day-to-day activities, right? And if we are generously looking for to contribute something to do for our Mother Earth, so how to stop this global warming? That is also our concern. So performing this calculation, constant monitoring of this calculation, along with personal as well as social activities, it is somewhat essential. So I feel these are the 3 points which can explain what is the need of calculating carbon footprint. Okay, so in the let's say in the next part for carbon emission or footprint calculation and computation, I am going to discuss about IBM Tririga version 10.5.2, that how the calculations or carbon emission and calculations has been carried out. So in this section, I am going to discuss in terms of two examples. One is based on this IBM's application, and the second one is online available app through which I will try to show you the exact amount of carbon emitted by someone, by individual, right? So let's say this IBM's app is available, and how it calculates. So it starts the process. Let's say as a chemical engineering aspect, when we are working in the industry, there are different kind of equipments are available which needs different kind of inputs in terms of heat. So heat can be generated in different types. So what exactly the amount of data that is required at heating capacity, then let's say the property of the material which is being processed into final one, right? So the second point is similar to what I had discussed, that data based on location and organization with changes. So how the changes are occurring inside the system and what are the data that is required for in the second step. Next, you have to add all required inputs. You have to take it from your own experiment. Let's say if you are working in the industry, then actual data. Otherwise, you have to add it from the literature. Next, you have to perform the calculation. Certain equations will be given. Based on the equation, you have to perform the calculations. In the fifth step, you have to create a carbon log with all of the input and output data. So as soon as you insert the data, input data, there are some calculation will be done by the system, and output data will be given, and based on that we have to conclude what exactly we have to take out of it, right? And if you are not certain about the data which is generated by the system, in the next step you can update your current period of carbon footprint, and you can reset the carbon calculation that can be needed. I will try to show in second application how to update and how to fill the data. So this is about IBM Tririga version 10.5.2, and let us check for an how these are calculated with the help of different formulae. That means carbon footprint. Let's say the first point is energy emission. Energy emission is divided into two sections. The one is direct energy emission, and the second one is indirect energy emission. So what exactly coming out that is dangerous, let's say, or it is a part of carbon footprint? The first one is carbon dioxide, methane, CH4, nitrous oxide, and 2, right? So these are the equation which tries to give the amount of carbon footprint with the help of this IBM's app. So what you want total amount, what amount of CO2 emission factor, its heating value and density. In the second equation, you may require, apart from total amount, heating value, density, we want methane emission factor and this global warming potential CH4 conversion, right? Similarly, for N2O calculation, we want total amount multiplied by N2 emission factor multiplied by heating value multiplied by its density, and then global warming potential of N2 conversion. Similarly, let's go to the second next step, where indirect energy emission can be calculated in which similarly CO2, CH4 and N2 calculations can be carried out uh, by with the help of this software, where the equations now has been changed to total amount used based on occupancy multiplied by its emission factor in terms of CO2 emission. Whereas for CH4, total amount used based on occupancy multiplied by its CH4 emission factor, along with multiplication of global warming potential CH4 conversion. Similarly, if we have to deal with NTO indirect energy emission, here the equation that can be used is total amount used based on occupancy multiplied by NTO emission factor and global warming potential into conversion. Right. So the first two equations, those are for direct and indirect energy emissions. Right. So this is for energy emission. Next, going forward, uh, there will be carbon footprint based on the traveling, right? So for carbon footprint calculation for traveling, we have direct emission. That means here the criteria is vehicles that are owned by the company. So in this case also you are having three main equations for CO2 emission, CH4 emission and N2 emission. So let's say if this is for traveling, the parameters which needs to be discussed are distance traveled, fuel uses and emission factor, right? And as soon as you will go to the CH4, there will be a new factor, that is CH4 emission factor and global warming potential of CH4 conversion. Similarly, that is applicable for NTO in terms of N2. So this is the method for carbon footprint calculation for travel in terms of direct emission. That means vehicles that are owned by the company. Next, vehicles that are not owned by the company, let's say CO2, CH4, N2, same situation is there, right? So these are the next equation where we have to deal with. Okay. So other than that, for travel, let's say indirect travel emission for vehicles that are owned by the company, travel carbon footprint can be calculated as emission factor multiplied by distance travel. And indirect travel emissions for vehicles that are not owned by the company, the travel carbon footprint that can be calculated as distance traveled plus whatever the fuel uses multiplied by emission factor multiplied by its heating value and density. So all these are contributing to the carbon footprint. And apart from this traveling or energy emission, direct, indirect, there are other emissions are also there. So it can be calculated with the help of this IBM app, that is total quantity multiplied by 0.001102 multiplied by global warming potential emission factor. So this is the overall formula that can be used to calculate the carbon footprint using IBM's app. So now moving forward, there are different kind of applications are available, online applications are available for carbon footprint calculations. Okay, so let us assume that one has his own data and that is to be input, those are required for the system. So what we can do, individual can do his own calculations and one can calculate his carbon footprint. So let us see how this application works. So if you are able to see on the screen, this is one of the carbon footprint calculator where the top of the image you may be able to see that there will be different categories like house, flight, car, motorbike, bus and rail secondary, and at the end you may have results of your carbon footprint calculation. So let's say here I have started my study, and I started this study for our own country India, and this is calculated from 1st January 2020 to 30th May 2020, right? So I have given the required input in the first step, that is my country, and then what is the time period for which I want to calculate the carbon footprint of my own activities, right? So next, what happens, as soon as you will enter the data, you will be able to see that what exactly the household carbon footprint you have emitted. So based on number of people living in a home, we can calculate. So let's say in for this particular study, I have used number of people those are living in a home, that is 4, right? So how much electricity I have consumed. Let's say I have input, I have given some kind of input 325 kilowatt hours, right? Natural gas, how much required heating, oil, coal, we are not using any kind of coal, so I kept this as zero. LPG, how much it is required. And just I tried to calculate my household footprint. So total house footprint is found out to be around 0.15 metric tons of CO2 emission, right? And at the bottom, you may be able to see that there are different conversions are given, or let's say the different values are given in terms of the parameters which are listed above. In the next slide, I tried to calculate the flight carbon footprint calculator. This is, I'm giving an example if somebody wants to calculate their carbon footprint. So what I did, I took the example for, let's say I'm traveling from Pune to Rajkot via Bombay. So what will be my carbon emission for 2 round trips? So it is around 0.46 metric tons from Bombay to Rajkot, zero point 0.6 metric ton for economic class return flight from Pune to Rajkot via Bombay, and 0.29 metric tons for 2 economic class direct return flight from Pune to Rajkot. So these are different kind of calculations can be found out by this online calculator. Moving to the car section, if I am putting different kind of mileage and then which kind of vehicle I am using and what is its efficiency and all these things, I will be able to get the value of carbon emission when if I'm using the car, right? So moving forward, let's say motorbike. In the motorbike also, if you are putting the value of your mileage and its efficiency and which kind of motorbike you are using, let's say it's 125 cc or more than that or heavy bike, right? So based on that, this online calculator will tries to give you how much amount of carbon dioxide is emitted by a single person in that time period. So let's say bus and rail. Let's say I used to travel by bus. So I tried to put this variable in this section. So let's say in this 5 months, I travel around 3,000 kilometers. So the total bus and rail footprint for me, it is around 0.31 metric tons of CO2 emission. Okay. So in secondary, you may have different kind of parameters, let's say, in terms of currency. And here currency, these are given in US dollars. So starting with your basic needs like clothes, textiles, then paper-based products, computer IT, and so on, right? So you can put your need, and according to that, this calculator has designed the formula in a such a way that you will be able to find out how much amount of carbon is emitted, right? So let's say at the end we have this result that what is my carbon footprint for house, flights, car, motorbike, bus and rail, and secondary. So overall, my total carbon footprint is 1.83 metric tons of CO2 emission, right? So at the bottom, if you are able to see the images, my footprint, my country's average, and world target. So my footprint is around 1.83 metric tons per year. The average footprint for people in India is around 1.73 metric tons, and average for the European Union is about 6.4 metric tons. The average worldwide carbon footprint is about 5 metric tons. The worldwide target to combat climate change is 2 metric tons. So let's say this is the idea behind calculating the carbon footprint, that we have to deal with the different kind of situations. So let's say I have to take this opportunity to reduce my own carbon footprint, which may reduce the average carbon emission of the country and ultimately globally that can be reflected. So this is the second example which I thought to share with all of you. The first one is from IBM and the second one, this is from carbonfootprint.com. So let's say based on the data which is given on timeforchange.org website, there are different types of fuels and it's CO2 emitted per liter. So in this case, I took only 4 parameters, or let's say 4 fuel types, that is petrol, gasoline, diesel, and oil, and it's CO2 emitted per liter. So what will be the carbon footprint contribution? It is given For petrol and gasoline, it is around 2.3 CO2 emitted per liter. For diesel, it is 2.75 around. And for oil that is used for heating, that at that time carbon footprint contribution is around 3 CO2 emissions are emitted per liter. So this is one of the example which I had taken from timeforchange.org. So there are different kind of aspects are available based on the data, based on the literature. So I thought to share this just to have an idea about how the CO2 emitted per liter by different types of fuels. So let us moving forward to the sustainability standards. So while discussing about the this subject or this course where process design is at center, so what exactly we want? We want different governing laws. We want standard operating procedure, that is SOP. We want design and operating criteria. We want that 4 Rs: reduce, reuse, recycle, recover policies. And at the we have last but not the least, we have reliability on process development. So these are the sustainability standards which I think will lead to the environment and sustainability. And that is the motto of this International FDP on environment and sustainability. So let us study in terms of standard operating procedure. So when we are working in the industry, we are aware, we must aware about the how that equipment is working. Unless and otherwise someone is used to that equipment, how to fine tune the parameters, we will not have we will not find out the desired efficiency, right? So for that purpose, the third point, it is somewhat relevant to the second point, that is design and operating criteria. And very, very important, whichever the cycle you are using or whichever the process you are using, that must be interconnected to each other. That can be have a reduction in energy, that can be reused, different kind of materials can be recycled, and there should have a higher recovery rate. These policies may contribute to the sustainability standards, right? And very important is, as we have seen different 17 goals from the ISOs for sustainable environment and sustainability. The one of them is industrialization or industry smart industries, where we have to rely on the process development. So unless and otherwise one is not going for development in the process, we are not able to achieve the goals which are mentioned earlier, right? So let us say, what are the sustainability standards in with reference to this course? Let's say it will start with the design and development. As I told you initially, it is starting with your lab equipments and then pilot plants. So there are several steps in between. So design and development, let's say it is one of the base aspect. The next one is operational policies, so which are the ISOs we have seen. So based on that, it may be safety, health hazards, or let's say environment sustainability. So all these operational policies may be combined along with the base parameter, that is design and development, to achieve the goal of desired efficiency. So this is what I feel the sustainability standards for this course. And as I have already mentioned while starting my discussion, that I will try to show you how my 4 goals or how these outcomes can be achieved. So what I want this raw material is converted into process marketable material with the help of physical and physico-chemical biological changes. So what I told you, that reactor is on reactor centric process, the reactor is at center, and I have to convert raw material into end product. So what I have to do, I have to minimize the energy. So for that purpose, what I need a skilled labor. So this is what the overall scenario, or what is the conclusion for this international FDP on environment and sustainability. And at the end, I would say one should reduce everyone's carbon footprint by its own act itself. Try to emphasize on your carbon footprint, try to reduce it in the way which you can, right? So thank you very much for joining me and watching my video, and go green. Thank you very much.